Welcome to the Shropshire Ghost Tales podcast, Halloween special. I am your host, Galactica Transtica. This episode will cover the history and hauntings of Hopton Castle. Before we commence with the podcast, I would like to ask all the listeners out there to please support the channel by subscribing to Shropshire Ghost Tales and giving us a like. Also, I would like to mention that we are now on YouTube. The YouTube podcast will not only feature the podcast, but will give you listeners a tour of the haunted places in the video. With that being said, let's commence with the podcast. Hopton Castle is located near the small village called Hopton Heath, which is about 5 miles from Craven Arms in South Shropshire. The castle was built in the 1300s on a former Norman site. Evidence shows that Hopton Castle wasn't actually a castle, but was a medieval tower house, which was built by Walter G. Hopton during the time of the Second Barons' Civil War between 1264 and 1267. The site was given to Walter G. Hopton by Henry II, and by 1286 the castle was owned by Lord Roger Mortimer of Chirk. Regarding the paranormal activity, some tourists have reported seeing the ghostly apparitions of men leaving Hopton Castle one at a time, their heads dissipating before their bodies dropped into the now empty moat. There has been many paranormal investigations at Hopton Castle, where there has been ghost box sessions. One paranormal investigator was able to pick up the voice of a man through the ghost box. The spirit of the man was saying the words murder and head, which ties in with the history of the site, which is mentioned later in this podcast. Hopton Castle, built as a border stronghold against the Welsh, experienced little conflict for many years, but then between 1642 and 1651, during the English Civil War, Cromwell's forces went on the rampage throughout the vicinity. The 33-man garrison and Colonel Samuel Moore, their commander, successfully repelled the Royalists for several weeks. The colonel struck an agreement with the Roundhead Superior General, as their source of food, water and ammunition went dry. They agreed to give up the castle in exchange for imprisonment as opposed to execution. Consenting to the agreement, the Superior General of the Roundheads said that the Colonel should come out first so that he may watch his soldiers being fed and given water. Colonel Samuel Moore exited the fortress as he was captured by the Roundheads. He was instructed to summon each of his troops out of the castle individually, as his captors held a knife across his throat. His men were beheaded one by one as they exited the castle, and their remains were kicked into the moat. Then the castle's roof was covered with stakes holding their heads. Colonel Moore was then forced to watch the Hopton Castle being destroyed before they dragged him to Ludlow Castle. The paranormal investigator team called Staffordshire Paranormal Explorers went to Hopton Castle and found some evidence of paranormal activity at the site. As looking at the gruesome history of the castle, it is no wonder that there is paranormal activity at the site. I went to the castle myself and undertook a paranormal investigation of my own, but I was unable to find any solid evidence of paranormal activity. However, this doesn't mean that there isn't any activity, as other paranormal groups have found some evidence. By 1700, Hopton Castle was significantly damaged but still habitable, until afterwards when the castle deteriorated further, and by 2008 the site was unsafe for visitors. The Hopton Castle Preservation Trust, which was established in 2006, acquired possession of the castle in November 2008 to pay for the conservation efforts and ensure the site's future. The trust recently raised £1 million, of which the National Lottery provided a grant for half of it. The castle was the focus of the Time Team excavation and episode, which appeared in Series 17 of the famous archaeological television show. Episode 6 of that series, titled The Massacre in the Cellar, aired on Channel 4 on May the 16th, 2010, which covered the site. Time Team spent 3 days excavating the last of the castle's keep, which shed light on the structure's design and construction timeline. I hope you have enjoyed this Halloween special podcast. Before I go, I would like to give a shout out to the Occult Investigations channel on YouTube. They also visited Hopton Castle and have some good paranormal videos on YouTube. Happy Halloween, and remember, beware of the ghosts.